What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Beta versus Little Nog 2. Like I said in my other video, I'm at my grandparents' house, which is why I'm getting to this video a little late. I'm on vacation, so let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Francisco Barra versus Darren Stewart, and Darren Stewart looks like a decent striker, but that's about it. I think Francisco, or Barroso, however the hell you say his name, I think he's the better grappler, and he might not be as good of a striker, but I think his wrestling and jiu-jitsu are definitely better than Darren's takedown defense and overall wrestling game are. So I think Barroso is probably going to hit a takedown sooner or later and win by rear naked choke. Next is Pedro Mahuzo versus Justin Scoggins, and this is Scoggins' first fight at 35. He looked decent at 25, but he couldn't make the weight. I think Mahuzo's also looked really good. I think Mahuzo's got the better grappling, and he's a little bit bigger, and he's been fighting bigger people too. So I'm just going to give him the slightest of edges, but I say sooner or later he gets this to the ground, and once he gets there, he always hits that guillotine, and he's probably got one of the nastiest guillotines in the game right now, so I think that's how Mahuzo wins. Next is Luis Haquin versus Christian Colombo, and I'm going to go with Colombo. Luis doesn't impress me that much. I think he's a decent striker who kind of forces takedowns and just kind of likes to bully people. I think Colombo in his last fight kind of got robbed of a clear decision. I mean, he was basically beating the shit out of the other guy he was fighting. But they turned it into a draw, which I thought was a little crooked. But to me, Colombo was undefeated coming into the UFC. He still is technically undefeated, but he should be like 9-0. He's a little old, which is the only weakness in his game, as he kind of gets tired quick. But his striking game and his takedown defense were both really solid in that fight that he had in his UFC debut. So I'm going to say he wins by TKO, maybe decision. Next is Johnny Eduardo versus Manny Gamburyan. And Johnny Eduardo is a really good striker, but if you look at all his fights, they're all like 6 months to a year apart. I mean, he's just not very active, and I know he's starting to become more of like a striking coach over at his gym. Manny Gamburyan, you know, he's also a coach too, but he tries to fight as consistent as he can. It's just injuries, but he has been fighting a lot more consistently as of late, the last like 2 years. I just think it's one of those things where it's where are these guys at? And Johnny Eduardo is probably the better striker, but I think his grappling isn't very good. And Manny Gamburyan, I think, has the grappling where he could probably edge out a decision. It's just one of those things where it's hard to tell where Johnny is. And if he's coming into this fight fully prepared, then he'd probably win, but I just don't know. So I'm going to pick Manny. I say he wins by decision. Next is Marcus Lima versus Garmahuzad. I don't know. This guy has a crazy fucking name. But I'm just going to go with Marcus de Lima. I think that his striking, his only weakness is that he has low fighter IQ. He goes for really shitty submissions when he should just keep on striking with guys. I think he's starting to fix that. Like when he just straight up strikes with guys, he usually doesn't lose. It's when he goes to the ground and tries to get a submission is when he kind of gets gassed when he can't get it, and then he ends up losing. But I think if this is just a pure striking match, he'll win by knockout. Next is Cesar Ferreira versus Jack Hermanson. And to me, Cesar Ferreira has been looking better, but he still doesn't look great. I mean, his biggest weakness has always been his chin. In his last 2 fights, I mean, he won them, but the same thing happened. He got dropped, the guy beat on him, and basically just got tired, and then he out-wrestled him for 2 rounds. He wasn't that impressive. It's more like the other guys just kind of made mistakes and gassed themselves out. And I mean, I feel like Jack is not a great striker, but he's a decent striker. I'd say he's above average, but he's a really solid wrestler. I think that he'll just continuously pick Cesar apart on the feet, and he'll be able to stuff takedowns, and eventually he'll win by TKO. Next is Sergio Moraes versus Zach Ottawa. And Zach Ottawa is basically a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a very technical striker, but I wouldn't say he's a good striker. Sergio Moraes, you know, he's not a great striker either, but he has solid power, and I think if this goes to the ground, he's obviously going to win. He's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the MMA right now, and I think this is going to happen. I think sooner or later, Sergio's going to tie up with him, take him down, and just win by submission. Next is Warley Alvarez versus Karamu Usman, and this is basically Usman's wrestling versus Warley's, like, guillotine. I'm going to go with Warley. I think the last time he fought a wrestler who forced takedowns like how Usman does, he did catch the guillotine. I think it's probably Warley's best submission move, and he's really good at catching it on guys who just try to force takedowns on him, and that's what I think is going to happen. Is he's probably going by guillotine in like the first minute or something. Next is Talis Ladies versus Christoph Jodico, and You know, Jodoriko's on a decent win streak, but he hasn't really been fighting great guys. I don't think he has great knockout power either. I think that he's just a technical striker with solid takedown defense. I think Talis Ladies is the better fighter. I think his striking maybe not be as good, but his grappling's way better. I think sooner or later, Talis is going to tie up with him and take him down. I just see Talis winning by submission. I just think he's better overall. And this is Claudia Gadelha versus Courtney Casey, and this is obviously, I mean, they're just feeding Claudia a win here. You know, Claudia's only lost twice, and it's to Joanna, so obviously, she's obviously the #2 chick in the world, and Courtney Casey, you know, she's just okay. I feel like what's going to happen is Claudia's eventually going to hit a takedown and beat her up, and she might not finish her, but I think the same thing is going to happen over and over again for 3 rounds. She'll just take her down, beat her up. Striking-wise, they'll probably be about even, but, you know, Claudia will just hit the takedowns when she needs to and win a decision, or maybe a submission. Next is Thomas Almeida versus Albert Morales, and this is the same thing as the last fight. They're just trying to give Almeida an easy win. I think that Morales is a decent striker with some grappling, but I think Almeida is the much better striker, and I think as long as his chin isn't completely gone, which I doubt it is, he's probably going to catch this dude with some crazy spinning back fist wheel kick thing. He's a crazy striker, basically. I'm going to say Almeida wins by TKO sooner or later or something crazy. And finally, we have Ryan Bader versus Little Nog, and although I like Little Nog and I want him to win, he's just always had a hard time beating guys who are really good wrestlers. I mean, he beat Patrick Cummings, but that's because Patrick Cummings really only has wrestling, so it was easier for him to see the takedowns coming. All the guys he's lost to with good wrestling had, you know, some striking and were able to kind of mix it up. Patrick Cummings just can't do that. I think Ryan Bader, his striking's been getting, it's underrated. I mean, he's not as good as, like, you know, Rumble, but it's good enough where I think he could hang with Little Nog on the feet and then mix in takedowns when he needs to. In my opinion, Little Nog's probably gotten a little bit better since the first time they fought, and I think Ryan Bader's gotten exponentially better since the first time they fought. So, you know, if Ryan Bader won the first time, then, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't win the second time. And, I mean, we've seen Ryan Bader go 5 rounds and win decisions, so it's not like his cardio is an issue. But that's just how I see it. I mean, Little Nog can definitely catch him, but I just don't see it happening. I think Bader rides out a decision, probably 50-45. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.